Alright, now we're on to Batalia. And again, so we Galactic Rangers are already there. In order to spice things up, now instead of having the planet under rain and being relatively tropical, now they actually made it coated in snow. Mostly because the ice-themed planet from the original, the one where Clank gets the water equivalent water propeller upgrade, was one of the worlds that was cut away. The one where you need to destroy the blimp, the Blarg blimp, and have the guy fix the drill. Honestly, I can live without that. So if considering again the 10 months gap in order to release the game, if I was basically pointed a gun in my head and being told that I need to make sacrifices, I understand why that would be sacrificed.
Sacrifices call for a greater cause.
The greater cause.
Speaking of which, you mentioned that, yeah, the jetpack does come from Into the Nexus, but I guess I'll give this game one thing. I'd probably sooner play this than replaying Into the Nexus.
I will just cut at the rule and say that I will bother to play both, So...
You know what? That's right. I mean, again, I will say this. I don't hate Into the Nexus, but I think our commentary made it clear that Into the Nexus feels like such a mixed bag that I wouldn't go out of my way to play it. Like, if I were on, like, a marathon of Ratchet Clank games, sure, I do that, but it just doesn't feel like something that's fun enough on its own, not to mention the problems it does have, both gameplay and narrative-wise.
I mean, I will still play it over, when it comes to just the future games, playing it over Quest for Booty and Full Frontal Assault / Q-Force.
I mean, yeah, but admittedly I was talking about Into the Nexus, but fair enough, if we are throwing those into the mix, yeah, Into the Nexus is a better game than those, which is such a shame because Quest for Booty could have been better.
You'll only say that because there are pirates in Idrova.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons why it should have been better, but
a game is not just an aesthetic.
I mean, it's still a better pirate experience than at World's End.
Remind me again which number movie?
Oh,
okay, sure. Well, I'll need to rewatch it again to say it, but I always felt more bored by the fourth movie than the third.
I still to this day have not seen the fifth movie because I hear nothing but horror stories about how it handles Jack Sparrow as a character, and I just don't know if I'm ready for that to be my last impression of him.
That movie is what people say the fourth movie is.
So, for context, one Simpsons gag at the time was Bartle was working on a farm for different reasons, and when he handles unharvested equipment, he basically collects manure and then gets processed into actual copies of the fourth movie's DVD. Anyway. This instead is about is where to send you to Pokitaru. If you recall, the Regiment was just a soldier that sold you that for a bunch of bolts in order to get back to his family. Here you just get it. Hey, they also bothered to give Ratchet's mentor more things to do in the original, I will say.
Even though that is clearly not John Goodman, which, okay, to be fair, some sacrifices had to be made and whatnot. But yeah, no, like, I can get what they're trying to do, actually having him factor more into the plot rather than just be, your typical...
being John Goodman.
Movie wanted. Yeah, that too.
And even then, it's kind of a disservice, because depending on the movie, John Goodman can be used to great effects, like the Big Lebowski,
And I dare say, look, I'm gonna say it, he was used better in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the live-action Year Without a Santa Claus movie, and my god, I realized that John Goodman has played Santa Claus quite a few times.
And we get him to play Santa Claus in a remake of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
You know what? Yes.
Yes, please, that's an actual movie.
If I recall correctly, that movie is one of the most famous "so bad it's good" kind of experiences.
I don't remember if it was done with the intention to be an intentionally made bad movie, but it certainly has gathered that over the years, thanks to stuff like MST3K.
Okay. I will say it's kind of bollocks that you can't use the jetpack for clearing a gap like that, essentially.
That's because it's there to actually help you, because it's a context-sensitive point that allows you, that can be reached only by wall jumping. They want you to use that mechanic, so there's that.
Yeah, that's admittedly... Okay, to be fair, that's hardly a problem exclusive to just this game, but that has been something I don't care for in some Ratchet games where, again, they have to use some kind of questionable methods at times to justify why you can't use a gadget here or there when you should be able
Spyro,
to.
in order to pass through this door, you need to learn about doing headbutts.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but I don't think that's something that Moneybags ever charges anything for.
Actually, third word of Spyro 2 Dreams, Winter Thunder, I think it's called. In order to access into the inner part of the castle, you need to actually smash a rock that blocks the entrance, and Spyro needs to learn the headbutt move for it.
Ratchet Clank, this is your Commander Quark saying that you are not authorized to use that weapon here.
Any objection, Lombax?
I mean...
That would also,
yes.
however, that would give the implication that, Ratchet and Quark are about to have a relationship, and no, thank you.
Like, the thing is, yeah, it was always clear that Adam and Samus had something going on based off of fusion. It's just Other M really decided,
Other M doesn't know how to write romance, for starters,
no, it does not.
Among many other things, like handling, handling the coping of trauma, handling a mystery novel about a crew picked up one by one, handling the tense of a space station under attack constantly. So, quite a lot of things. But it sure knows how to make not very subtle ways to motherhood, metaphors to motherhood. It's literally the Garfield Marenghi sketch. I know writers who use subtext and they're all cowards.
Okay, a little bit of a nitpick here. I don't like how the squad members just stand around in what's clearly
instead of helping you. Yeah, I know, right?
It's like, come on, we're this far into gaming technology. In fact, for all its problems in Quest for Booty, Talwin at least did accompany us for a good chunk of the mission.
Again, I chalked this out to the 10 months development game. They really just cut corners like that. But honestly, even beyond that, it ultimately keeps reinforcing the whole thing that I mentioned for the movie, that the new Galactic Rangers created to accompany Corky in the movie are so forgettable, despite the movie trying its damn best to give them different designs and personalities.
It's like I said before, they should have just brought back the Galactic Rangers from 3, Sasha included, who actually did have a meaningful relationship with Ratchet. Instead they replaced her with, again, a character who the main theory seems to be that she was supposed to be a Talwin XP. The one voiced by...
Yeah, the one that is helping you right now.
Yeah.
So there you go, now she's helping you, despite the fact that she had a jetpack before, so she could cross the bridge before.
Oops.
Again, platformer logic, I get it, and it's part of the humor, but still.
That's it. Since she's speaking, but she doesn't seem to have another actress credited for
I had
this
to guess,
game,
yeah, but it's okay. I can maybe chalk that up to Sony having enough of a budget to potentially call back some of the movie's VAs, but only for specific, gameplay moments. Because again, for example, Sylvester Stallone doesn't reprise his role, Paul Giamatti does not reprise his role, and so on.
Which is weird, okay, so you could get some of the movie actors, but you get it for, this one random side female character. Usually in a video game adaptation, they try to get the biggest actors. The Spider-Man games would get back, of course, Tobey Maguire and Willem Dafoe for the first game, Alfred Molina for the second game, Topher Grace for the third game, and so on and so forth, essentially. Again, why aren't you getting back Paul Giamatti and John Goodman as opposed to... I think her name was
Bella Thorne.
Bella Thorne.
Bella Thorne, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what to tell you. Maybe those are logistical things where one was available, another wasn't for that.
And like you
Scheduling
said, it could
conflicts
just
are
really
always a
be.
thing.
And like you said, it really could all just come down to the budget. Like, maybe they can only fit in this one character, and like, I guess I question what the vision was, but clearly, again, one thing we've been able to posit from this game is that there were truly two visions being clashed together into one mess of a project for this game.
Including like I said, including for the non-English speaking European countries, because unlike in the movie, every single piece in the game, including the scenes from the movie, were instead completely revoiced by, the actual game's VAs.
You know, I do legit kind of feel sorry for this game, having, re-looked at it again. Like, again, the first time I ever played this game, it was after I had pretty much done a long hiatus from the series, so I hadn't really done the Future series. All I knew going into this game was, oh, it's something that's accompanying the movie. I didn't know that it was forced to be based off of the movie, so I can imagine that for people who, have just a surface-level knowledge of this game, to them, this game will just feel like a mess. And I know that probably goes without saying for a lot of projects, since we tend to do a lot deeper analysis on stuff, but it is kind of a shame to have to go into this game thinking that, oh wow, they really just didn't know what they were thinking, when in reality, I get the inkling that they did know what they were thinking, but struggling to work with.
Similar to the original game, now there's a more practical reason why you cannot properly pass, again, because of the turrets. So your squad mate having to wait here until you fix from the inside, I get it. However, because we already got the magnet boots already from the Blarg station, we don't have to interrupt the gameplay flow and go to another planet to get them. They also work more similarly to the games following the first one. In the original, you could not even jump with those. It was a very slow walk of shame.
Weird. Alright, I guess it's on us then.
Also, yes, Port continues to mysteriously not being able to help. I wonder why.
Yeah, maybe that whole important Galactic Ranger business, maybe he's just knackered and needs a holiday.
But Dwibs, Quark's the ultimate hero that we all look up to. How can he get tired at a time like this?
He's a whatever species he is. He needs some, rest and relaxation.
That said, apparently it's just really hard to reschedule a massage. That's why he can't show up. The hero.
Oh, the humanity.
Look, I get it. Massages can be good for achieving peak fitness and all that, but that is quite a move, leaving your team to potentially die. Granted,
but don't you
maybe
see,
he's just that confident.
Yeah, it's a show of trust, sure.
Yes. Faith, trust, and pixie dust.
There you go.
That said, yeah, no, like, credit to Insomniac. This does feel like how the movie probably would have handled an on-foot battle for this planet as opposed to the space battle.
And again, the world of Batalia was already pretty much like this from the get-go, so, it really just fits like a glove.
But yeah, now, like I was saying, part of me feels a little bit sorry that most people coming into this game will probably just know it as, like, a screw-up, when in reality, I do feel like it is a good game that's just hindered by its circumstances.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, ergo, tie this to the movie, you know your job, essentially. And yeah, I do get the feeling that they had to fight for, maybe not everything, but I get the feeling they had to fight for a few things in this one.
Mostly to have, enough time, because like I said, I get the idea those 10 months really did screw over part of the, development. Insomnia claims that the project went smoothly enough, which honestly good for them. But I can also believe if they had more time, they could have, insert a couple more things to make it more like the original.
Oh man, one scary thought I do have is, okay, let's imagine this in the movie had actually been a success. Would this have been...
Yeah, you already asked that question, and I already told you,
yeah.
yes, they probably would have done similar things to the games following. But because that did not work eventually, the team went back to continue the original game's timeline with Rift Apart.
God forbid it would have been tethered to all the movies that they probably would have made for that franchise. It's like,
Well,
okay, in
there's
some...
one thing we didn't talk about in the movie, so we might as well use that. Remember, Sony at the time was trying to genuinely launch a couple of movies based on its more cartoony IPs. Ratchet was supposed to be the head start, not necessarily a shared universe, just, you know, on a set of movies. And the one we wanted to do after was the Sly Cooper movie. Okay, I'm gonna be
the
fair.
designs of that trailer.
I did like the way the trailer was conceptualized in terms of plot and the fact that the voice actors reprised the Lord singing to it. But my god, those designs suck. You could see Bentley's eyes behind the glasses. You don't do that.
I feel like Sly's was fine enough, though. Of course, with the problem was that with Murray and with Bentley, they did the thing that, you know, tends to happen with the side comic relief, essentially. They overemphasized, and I get it. Maybe that was to better show their characteristics and whatnot. Nah, I'm sorry. I
And
just
because
do
of
not
what
like them.
happened to the Ratchet movie, this live movie has been in development hell since. You know, people say it's been reconverted as a series, potentially. Others say it's been cancelled outright. Nobody fucking knows. What I do know is that Sony is sitting on the IP doing nothing, and the voice actors will love nothing more than to reprise their roles, and they're not getting younger any day soon.
It's like, hey, Sony, I get it. Like, people really didn't like Sly 4 Thieves in Time, but why not at least go for, like, a remake?
Joba,
like,
we need
you
to
know?
have a story where Sly has to become a single parent in a post-apocalyptic world. Otherwise, how can we tell a story for a game?
You know, you joke, but remember, Last of Us was nearly a Jack and Daxter game, essentially, so... I mean, I guess, to be fair...
I'm almost telling, like, half of a lie here, because, for example, Days Gone had only the post-apocalyptic stuff, but to be fair, Deacon was not at all involved into being a single parent for a child. Instead, he was still having to care about his family, his brother, but, you know, in a different kind of way. But at the very least, there is that. Same
But yeah,
to an
no,
extent
like-
goes for Aloy. Sorry, go on.
And yeah, no, it's like, again, do a remake. Like, again, the Sly Cooper trilogy is intact, but I do feel like it's old enough to the point where a remake could be made, and one that arguably ties together stuff. Again, I like the original Sly Cooper trilogy, but it does have kind of, you know, a bit of that, we were kind of making some things up as we went along sort of vibes, essentially. I mean, it's nothing egregious, but, you know, I do feel like, you know, there's room to make a remake to refine it.
I really
essentially.
rather just them continuing the plot to actually give a proper conclusion before doing anything else. At that point, you can make all the remakes and reboots of, you know, and use that as an excuse to change the voice actors.
Oh, I would too prefer them to just continue, but my point is, like, if they're too afraid to make a continuation because of, you know, the reception on 4, then do something, anything. Like, and mind you, I'm someone who does not like sequel stagnation to that degree. I call Capcom out for that all the time, but, you know, at the very least, something to show that Sly Cooper is still alive, essentially. Like, yeah, Thieves in Time, I don't think was the best game. I don't think it was a game bad enough to warrant the series dying on, though, especially with a cliffhanger ending.
We did it!
That's what Drek gets when he messes with the Galactic Rangers.
All 2 of us who showed up here.
I think the big guy was in support in orbit, I think. Yeah. Again, it's the thing that makes it more frustrating compared to Microsoft, for example, because with Microsoft at the very least I can say, oh yeah, they did have strong IPs like Halo and Gears in the past, and even in stuff like Age of Empires, and these days a couple of them are screwed up like that. But Sony in comparison had a lot more stuff that I argue had more potential, and it's just left in the sideways, almost to a, not almost, but in some cases to a very high disrespectful degree. It just feels almost mean-spirited to an extent, all in favor of moving forward with games that barely anyone cares about.
I'll see you both on Core 2.
Like,
Yes,
I do get it.
some
A
games, some
company-
core games still sells, like the God of War games, Horizon, Gran Turismo, for example. But in contrast, all these shooters that Sony is making, only a fraction of them is actually successful enough to actually keep going. Yes, Stellar Blade was, for example, something that broke the mold, and Astrobot is more than welcomed, as a celebration of the entire package. So I can only hope we get more of that. But show events recently seem to suggest that's not what's happening.
It's like I've mentioned, the problematic cycle with Sony these days is they'll pump a ton of money into a project, but as a result, it needs to make a ton of money to break even. So suddenly they need to do big project after big project, while not feeling confident in, the projects that don't take as
Alright,
much money, essentially.
I
Story
was going
wise,
to say it, I don't remember Gran Turismo being about a single father in a
don't worry,
post-apocalyptic
James, they
world.
will find a way to integrate that. But
If they do eventually, I
six-
might have to applaud them for it.
the stealth crossover with Carmageddon, of course.
Yes!
But now, technically, story-wise, we can go into Quartu, which will lead to us to one of the adaptations directly from the movie. But instead, for the next part, we will go to Pokitaru to help Ratchet's mentor's brother, which is in need. So we'll see you for that.
See you then.
See ya.